Hello, everyone. Welcome to Vision Central on July 29th, 2022. Today, we're going to be discussing the computers and screens and using those with your eSight. I just opened the webinar today. It's Tyler here hosting the event, and we're just going to get people coming in for a couple minutes here, and we'll get going. So far, hey, we're doing good, everyone. Looks like we have 13 overall participants, so that's good. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. Welcome to us on a nice summer day here in Ottawa at nice bright and sunshine. And I was dealing with lighting issues with my computer and making sure I reflective light coming off it, which is always something to be aware of. And so we have with us today, we have Jeanette and we have Cosmo. They're going to help discuss the different issues when using your eSight with computers. And we're going to cover a lot of topics today. Anything you want to delve more deep into, clarification on it and so forth, definitely reach out to your eSight coach or any of us here at eSight, and we'll be able to follow up with you guys and give you a hand with things. And so with that being said, just looking at the participants list, we have a few more people that join. That's great. Congratulations to the new people that just came in. And why don't we get started? So, as I said, this is the eSight Vision Central for computers and screens with your eSight on July 29th, 2022. So for the agenda today, we're going to do some introduction and a little bit of housekeeping, and then we're going to learn about using our eSight with the computers and looking at the screens. And then we're going to have a moment for questions if people have questions and concerns. The one thing to keep in mind is that when we go over the computer and screen stuff, it's a lot of experimentation and user preference. So some people like to use HDMI in, for example, and some people do not. It's not something where you have to use that functionality with your eSight, but it's something you might want to experiment with to see if you really like it. So I don't want anyone to to going through some topics and going, well, that doesn't work for me, or that's not how I'd like to do things. That's okay. There's quite a variety of ways to try to use the eSight with the computer. It can be very versatile. All right, so as for the introduction, this is live, so things might happen. I might mispronounce words, stuff might go haywire. So just keep that in mind, but we're going to do our best. This is for users only here. So everyone who's participating is an eSight user in this webinar. And at the end, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand during the question period, and on the computer, you can go down and click on Control Y to raise your hand in a Windows, and it's Options Y to raise your hand on a Mac. And we're looking on the participant list to see if any hands are raised to answer any questions. And like I said, you can always reach out to your coach, or any of us will be happy to assist regarding any questions and clarifications. This session should take about 30 to 45 minutes. Might be a little shorter, maybe slightly longer, but just giving a rough estimate. Just for the basic foundations, we want to make sure the eSight is fitting comfortably. The halo is comfortable on the eSight 4. Then the glasses are sitting right. You don't want it pushing down on your nose, especially when you're trying new things with the eSight. They're utilizing the bioptic tilt. You kind of want to start from a comfort point that everything's feeling good, so that when you're experimenting, if you make any mistakes to make yourself uncomfortable, you know how to get yourself back to square one. One of the things I've used to do with the bioptic tilt it too low and kind of bump my nose, and I'm like, oh wait, that's not right, and I can just kind of make that adjustment and make sure it's comfortable for me. eSight is, as I said, designed to keep you mobile, so you can use that bioptic tilt if you're mobile, but also if you're sitting down on a computer, you're not necessarily going to be mobile. You can move around and look around, be hands-free. I know when I'm doing my office work here, very often I might have interruptions coming my way, my family members or pets coming by, and so I can look underneath my eSight and utilize the bioptic tilt that way. So I kind of, one thing I like with the eSight for very much utilizing all the features even when I'm seated at the computer, and I enjoyed that quite a bit. Cable management is always important. So if you're using the, say you're using the power cable to charge your eSight unit when you're seated, you may want to make sure the cable is going over your shoulders. If you're reaching for a mouse or moving anything around, you're not catching that cable. Also if you're using the eSight 3, same idea. How I like to use it for the computer is I have the remote set to the right of my mouse since I'm right-handed. So I have the mouse and I have the eSight 3 remote beside it, and I don't have any cables in front of me. So if I'm reaching over to make any adjustment, I just reach over that way. So cable management is important a little bit when you're using your computer. It just depends on your setup. Most of the time, the one thing I like with the eSight 4 though is there's less cables to deal with, so I can just have the remote in one spot and my mouse in the other spot. Also, when you're using your eSight, having additional batteries on hand, making sure you're charged up, or if you want to use the power source to charge up your eSight and run it off power source, you can do that as well. Just make sure if you're using a power source that you're connecting directly to an outlet. If you use a power bar and connecting to a power source, it may not give the proper flow of electricity to properly keep the unit running. All right, so now for what we're going to be talking about today. We are going to be starting off by utilizing the bioptic tilt and kind of showing how the bioptic tilt can be helpful with computers. I'm just going to kind of show the basic functionality of the bioptic tilt, or, what it looks like, how you can make the adjustment with it, and then I'm going to move over to Jeanette. I'm connected to her eSight unit via eShare, and we'll be able to see what she's showing on the screen, and she can kind of chat through what she's trying to show. She has a website pulled up. And can kind of show how she can look at the keyboard, look at the screen, follow the mouse along, and also utilize that tilt depending on what she's trying to do. So with the bioptic tilt on the eSight, this is one of the things that I really enjoyed when I first started to use my eSight unit. When I first got started, using eSight, I wasn't fully immersed. With it all the time, I could tilt it up, and it was very much, I know if I'm seated and I'm looking at my computer and I'm in the immersive mode, tilted down all the way, and I zoom in onto the screen and I'm utilizing it that way. And let's say something else happens where a coworker is coming around to talk to me, or and they're very close to me or something like that, I can always look at them and I can then tilt up the glasses and use the tilt, and I'm not in that zoomed mode. Or I can do the opposite, where I can be talking with someone during a meeting and so forth, and then I can look back at my computer, go down immersively, and then look at my screen and then add that magnification and the contrast. The tilt can be used quite a number of ways with the computer screen, because it depends on what your preference is. So, for example, with the utilizing it, I don't look at the keyboard, but my acuity is good enough so that I can tilt the glasses up, and then I can look down at the screen. Look underneath, and I can see my computer, my keyboard, and then I can look at the screen and zoom in on that, and then I can look underneath and utilize that bioptic tilt. And the bioptic tilt works on the eSight. So there's two ways you can tilt the glasses. There's the arms of the eSight that can be pivoted up and down. So if you turn the dial outward, the visor won't bump into the halo, and then you can tilt the glasses up and down. Or you can tilt the arms down, and then when you're fully immersed, you can tilt the visor up and down, and it pivots on the front of the arms. And the visor, when it pivots, that's where you can utilize that tilt and look underneath the glasses and tilt it upward, and then you can tilt it downward to see what underneath. So when you're pivoting on that change of the glasses, that's a good way to use the bioptic tilt. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to Jeanette's view, and we can see what she's seeing on the computer screen. So one moment here. I'm just going to pull up. There we go. Now everyone should be seeing the screen now. There's a little box here on the screen, but showing Jeanette's background here. Well, not background, but what she's seeing through the view of her eSight. So Jeanette, if you'd like to take it away.
Hello, thank you so much, Tyler. Wow, so there's a lot there. I'm looking at through my eSight. I'm looking at my Mac. I often really like to invert. So these top lines, this is what I'm reading. I'm looking right through my screen. Here's my mouse. There's a little writing underneath. It's a little smaller, so I'm going to zoom up on it. But sometimes, you know, what I like to do is invert the colors on my computer screen. And that is really nice to read like that. So I'm actually looking right at my screen here. And then if I want to just like look down at my keyboard, I could do that as well with my eSight. And of course, if I just wanted to have a double kind of view of everything, I can like tilt my eSight up. Can you see? I'm tilting it up here. And now you're seeing the screen. You're seeing some of the words on the screen at a slight height. And underneath it, using my natural vision, I'm actually seeing the keyboard. So I'm actually doing a little hybrid of both. So right now you can see that my eSight is actually tilted up. And so you're seeing things at a slight angle, but I'm seeing pretty much the top of my screen with my eSight. So that's what happens when it's tilted up. I'm seeing the upper part of the screen, but I'm seeing, if I look down underneath that tilt, I'm actually seeing my keyboard and seeing my hands and able to do things with that. And I can even tilt my eSight all the way up. So now you can't really see what I'm seeing. You're just seeing my ceiling probably. Yep. Sometimes I do that just because I'm just having an overview using my natural vision as opposed to my eSight. I'm looking at the natural view of my computer, and then I'm tilting back down to go in and read now what's on the computer screen now that I've seen where everything is. And my mouse is here, and now I'm looking, you know, I'm on a perfume site. Actually, this is one of my favorite sites. I love perfume, and they're telling me I haven't got anything for this month in my calendar, because every month you have to put a perfume in your calendar, populate it, and I haven't done it this month. I've been naughty, so they're telling me you've got to put something in there for August. So it looks like I'm probably going to put a something called cashmere, I think it is, for August. Looks like I'm going to put that in there. They've got some other suggestions in here. So yeah, so I'm looking at that and loving it. So you can see I've actually got this inverted. So sometimes people, when they look through their eSight at their computers, they like to invert the colors because it's just, sometimes, quite frankly, it's just easier to read. So if I do this, you can see it goes back to the normal color, and it's a little more, it's a little less contrasting. So that's why I tend to like, you know, this is one of the techniques that you can use actually when you're using a Mac or a PC. You can invert your colors as well. So yeah, so there we have that. And if I do need to look down at my keyboard, which I tend not to because I learned to touch type. But if you do need to, look at this. See, it's you know, you've got a good view of your keyboard as well. So you can sort of do both. As Tyler says, you can tilt your eSight up and look at your computer, or you can tilt it down, look at your keyboard, or you can do a hybrid of the two. So tilt it up, and you've got, especially the top part of the screen, you don't have to sort of strain your neck and to look right up to the top of the screen. You can just tilt the visor up.
Perfect. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Thank you, Jeanette. And so I will disconnect from you, and then we'll move on to the next one. All right. So next we're going to talk about tablet use for live view and just kind of basic adjustment. I got a video here from Cosmo that Cosmo is going to assist with. What he was trying to do, looking at a phone screen and the adjustments he was making there. So it's a phone and tablet, so you know, same functionality will be there. So let me pull up the video here, and then I will make sure we're all queued up.
And wouldn't you know, it's like taking a car to the mechanic. The eSight performed really well, and so my adjustments that I make weren't really necessary. And but the first thing I always recommend to people is to, if they're not happy with how the image looks, to lower the brightness on the device screen, whether it's a computer or a tablet. So right here, I'm looking at Google.
You want me to start the video, Cosmo?
Yes, please.
All right, there we go.
So I'm zooming in, and anytime you are looking at something bright, focus could be a challenge. And especially there with the smaller font, the eSight might struggle to adjust. And I think the unit handled it pretty darn well here. Right there, that's pretty clear. And I was able to read it. And so instead of making adjustments on the eSight, I find it easier to make the adjustment on the device. And so I'm in a dark room, TV on, we're watching Indiana Jones for the first time with my 7-year-old, looking back at the screen. The screen is brighter than the TV screen. But again, the eSight handled it really well. So there's our email, scrolling down to find a little bit smaller text, zooming in, and I'm making no adjustments. I'm on indoor mode, and all I'm doing is zooming in. And so I always encourage, oh, and there it got a little fuzzy, and there it sharpened up, because this is challenging. I'm in a dark room, so if the camera starts to pick up and focus on the image behind the phone, that's what just happened. So in a minute, I'm going to turn on my living room lights. And I think that helps a lot too, where instead of being in a dark room looking at a bright screen, turning on the lights, there's my little 7-year-old. There's less contrast between the device you're looking at and the ambient light in the room. So now I'm on the, Go ahead, Tyler.
And one thing I noticed, when you're using your hands on the device, you're reducing the magnification a bit so you can manipulate the screen, and then you zoom in when you're trying to do the reading.
Yes. And then again, that's challenging for a camera because my hand is dark, and the camera will often, so right here, I'm going to lower my screen brightness is at 50. I'm going to lower it down to about 30%. And that's always my first move if I'm not happy with the video quality, the image quality. And so right there, that's a good clarity on that smaller text below.
Okay.
And the eSight 4 is really snappy, but going between the, oh boy, now everybody knows my passcode again in my phone. Going between the bright screen and then the dimly lit room. That's something I've always been impressed with this, how quickly the camera adjusts its exposure. And now so the lights were on, now the lights are off, so that's why it goes so grainy. I mean, the eSight doesn't have night vision, so you're not gonna be able to see in pitch black. But yeah, anytime you're not happy with the image quality, lighting is the first thing to try. And I've had some users where they're trying to read a book, and I connect to where I can see what they're saying, and there's either a bright window behind the book, or there's shadows being cast by the spine, the curvature of the book. And so yeah, I find it easier to make adjustments to the device you're looking at than it is to mess with the eSight, because keep it simple on the eSight. And for 90% of the stuff you're going to look at, indoor mode, zooming in and zooming out is all you need to do. And then if you're not satisfied, that's when you can check contrast, check focus adjustment. But I was expecting to need to make some focus adjustment, but the eSight did so well I didn't need to. If I am going to be on my tablet for an extended amount of time, I often like to put it onto reading mode or TV theater mode, which I have mine configured for manual focus. And that way it doesn't adjust to my hand, because when I go to touch the touch screen, eSight will often focus on the closest thing to the camera, and then it has to refocus as soon as you move your hand. And so if I'm locked in with manual focus on my screen, doesn't matter what I do with my hand, it's staying focused. And then that takes away that, split second of adjustment time. But keep it simple, indoor mode, zoom in, zoom out. That's what I recommend.
Perfect. Great. Excellent. Thank you, Cosmo. And then next, we're going to look at more some advanced stuff with Jeanette, and she did a video looking at news stuff and one of the advanced techniques that she was doing. And so I will switch it over to Jeanette's video here, and we'll pull that up. And make sure it's nice and big. And then I'll just pause it there, restart it. And then Jeanette, when you're ready for me to go, just let me know to press play and go from there. You are on mute, Jeanette, so you can't let me know to press play.
Sorry,
There we go.
I was talking away and I was like, okay.
Yeah, and this is why we're live.
Yeah, press play whenever you like.
All right, going to press play now. No problem.
Great.
There we go.
So this was me using my iPad 11 Pro. I'm on indoor mode, so I'm not changing my mode on eSight at all. I'm simply reading my iPad. I have it on dark mode. I do like dark mode. So that's where I tend to get the white writing with the black background. That's just something that Apple offers just generally. And what I'm doing is I'm actually looking at Apple News. So I'm scrolling through the different articles and I'm actually zooming up on something that's interesting to me. And of course, you know, when you're reading stuff, there's a lot of adverts and commercials in between, and you've got to sort of decipher what is the article and what isn't the article. And so what I wanted to show here was, you know, reading with eSight, reading the actual text with eSight. Sometimes when we move around real quickly, it can get a little bit blurry, and you've got to give it a chance to sort of straighten up a little bit and clear it up a little bit. We saw that a little bit with Cosmo too, you know, that it does sometimes go a little blurry, and you just give it a second and it'll clear up. And also there's a time when I just like put my finger in front of the screen, and that also just helps you know, because what it is the focus is giving you the best possible view of what you're looking at. But sometimes if you're moving around a lot, the camera gets a little confused, and it just needs a minute to settle down and give you the best focus that it thinks that you need when you're looking at something. And again, I'm in one mode. I'm not switching to reading mode. My room is moderately lit. You can see there what I'm talking about. It kind of gets a little blurry sometimes. That's normal. Okay, there's nothing wrong. It's just that sometimes the camera gets a little confused, especially when you're moving around real fast like I was. So you just have to give it a second, and look, you see it's clearing up already. So now I'm going to, you know, start to read the news article that I'm reading about. And I think it's to do with the economy in the US not doing so well. They're talking about the economy. Maybe there being a recession sometime in the future, which we're not very happy about. But look, you can see how the eSight is handling the iPad, which is very small print. Okay, I didn't enlarge anything on my iPad. Even my husband, he has an iPhone 13 Pro Max, and he fully sighted and everything, but he even enlarges the print on his phone a little bit just because he finds it's real small. I haven't done that, and I haven't done it on my iPad. This is all eSight. You see how clear that print is, how big it is, how easy it is to read. That is eSight. And like I said, it's only on indoor mode, and I'm just going back and forth very carefully, not rushing, because the moment you start to rush, you can see it starts to get real blurry. So you just need to sort of low and slow, steady as she goes, steady as she goes. You can see it's like, you know, hey, Jeanette, slow down. So yeah, you can see, you know, now I spotted another big set of headlines, and I'm looking at these headlines thinking, what is this? Oh dear, it's a commercial. As soon as I see that it's you can prepare really well if you stock up on, I was like, okay, that's enough. That's enough. I read enough of that to know that this is a commercial. So again, you know, one of the things is when we're using our eSight with our computer, especially when you're zoomed in a lot, you can sometimes kind of lose your place. So sometimes what I also did was I tilted my eSight up and just again had an overview with my natural vision. And this is the wonderful thing about the eSight, is that you can combine your natural vision with the enhanced vision of eSight, and you can sort of find exactly what it is you're looking for. So now we're back to, you know, I had to go to the next page or the next big section. And now I found exactly what I was looking for. You can see, right? You can see, I'll just let you have a look at this for a second. You see, if I'm not sure, I'll go back over the word again real slowly.
And the one thing I noticed too is that when you were looking at the bioptic tilt, when it went up, everything went blurry because you weren't looking through the camera was just bouncing along. And then when you said, hey, I'm using it to bioptic tilt, that's exactly what happens. The camera's still going to make adjustments, but when you adjust it back down and steady it, it goes right back to where it needs to go.
Yeah.
And it zooms in, which is very helpful.
And you can see how this is really, really clear, right?
Yeah. That's very good.
Yeah. And when you go back to the beginning of the line, like I'm just reading along very carefully. Also, because I'm doing a video, I'm going a little slower than I normally would. But you can see that when I go back to the beginning of the line, it blurs up just because I'm moving real fast, which is what I was telling you guys. When you go real fast, it's going to blur up. So you just need to go slow and slow. You need to just be consistent. It's not really about slowing down too much as being consistent. So if you're thinking, well, I'm going to be reading real slow with eSight, not the case. Look, you see, now I've gone out a little bit to show you exactly what I was reading. You see how well the eSight did with that level of print. So what I'm saying to you guys is, if you read consistently, then you're going to be fluent. It's just that you've got to be consistent. Don't speed up and then slow down, or speed up. It just, if you go consistent, you won't. And that's the back part. See, I zoomed up to the very top of the page and found that back arrow to get out of that story. So just going slowly and just looking around the image on the iPad, and then combining that, as we've said earlier, with that bioptic tilt. If you need to tilt up so that you can look at just the overall impression, you can do that, and then tilt your eSight down and go look at the detail like this. You see, you can now see we have the perfect, yes, we know that this is a commercial. But you see, when you want to look at detail, now you can go back into your eSight and look at the headlines and look at the text on the articles. But when you want to just scan just with your natural view, but you don't need to see the detail like this, I thought I'd show you through the eSight. But what I'm trying to illustrate here is you can just scan, and then when you want to look at something in detail, now you can zoom in on it and start to look in detail. But you're not going to want to look at every single thing in detail. So sometimes you're just going to want to zoom out, and you could even just, like I said, you could even tilt up and just look with your natural vision at some of the images, and then home in on something that you really want to see in more detail. And so that's really, to me, the principle. Yes.
Yeah, no, and the one thing I want to say, I noticed in this video, because you're recording this video, there's a little red light on your eSight indicating it's recording, and that is reflecting off the screen. That's one thing to keep in mind as well, which in that sometimes the camera is going to catch that light coming off your eSight, and it bounces back off the screen. So when Cosmo was talking about the lighting, it's very much true in this case too. You want to have that controlled lighting with the camera, because the tablet screen or any computer screen is very reflective. of what you're looking at, and
Right.
that's something I noticed as well in this. And you're doing a good job controlling the lighting, but because we're recording the video, we can't control that bounce back a little bit.
Right. And what I'm doing here, Tyler, is I went out of the news app, and I actually am looking at the front of my iPad now. You can see all the different apps, and I'm just kind of going through the different apps because they're real small, you know.
Yeah. And then
again, it can get a little blurry if you rush, so just being careful. And then, yeah, this is still on the front of my iPad 11 Pro.
and then I think you're using the finder there to pull everything back.
Yes, I was. Yes, I was.
show
I was using the finder, which for anybody who doesn't know, on the eSight 4, the finder is just above the volume. You've got 3 buttons, and it's the middle button of those 3, not the one on the left, not the one on the right, but the one in the middle. You do have to zoom up in order to activate that finder. But once you've zoomed up, if you press and hold that middle button, it allows you to shrink everything back to where it was before you zoomed up. But it gives you a box that you can put whatever it is you're trying to find in that box, and then let go. And then whatever is in that box comes right up to your eyes at the zoom level that you were at before you used the finder to shrink it down. So yeah, you can see, you know, this is a really good tool to access a normal mainstream device like an iPad, where, you know, maybe you wanted, okay, I think we're done. Maybe you want to access the iPad and you want to be, you know, have a mainstream view. You can do that with your eSight. It really is, it's a game changer, to be honest.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you, Jeanette.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, so next I want to talk about utilizing the HDMI in with computers. And you can also do this with tablets as well. It's a little bit more complicated with a tablet. But for this topic, I don't have a video, but I more can verbalize what I'd like to show. Reason why it is hard to show how HDMI works inside the eSight, and it's very much dependent on the user. So for this thing, and I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, for HDMI in, I always encourage people to experiment to see if they like it or not. It's not necessarily something that everyone is going to like, and that's due to people's visual acuity. When you're using the HDMI in, the computer screen or tablet screen is going to be projected inside the eSight. Now, once it's projected inside the eSight, you can add magnification and you can add contrast through the remote or through the trackpad of the unit. And you can then zoom in that way. Depending on someone's comfort level with looking around the computer screen, like Jeanette and Cosmo and have been showing, they may want to try HDMI in to see if they like it. What I found over the years is that those that like HDMI in really like it a lot. Those that don't like HDMI in really don't like it. So I'm very much aware that it's, you know, experimentation, and I don't want anyone to be like, well, I'm going to try this and tell this it's going to be great. That's not where I'm trying to go. So just keep that in mind. But I always encourage people to try something using the HDMI in functionality. So how the HDMI in would work with a computer: if you have a laptop or a desktop computer and you are wanting to try the HDMI in functionality, what you would do is you would take the HDMI cable that came with your eSight, and you can buy these at any store like a Best Buy or a Walmart and so forth. And the one side is a micro HDMI, which is the small, oh, there you go, it's a small end. And then the other side is a larger HDMI, which is the normal end. So how it would work is that you would take the small end of the HDMI cable and you would plug it in to the back of your eSight unit, and it will slide in. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is going in the back of the left arm. So the right arm is a power port, and the back of the left arm is an HDMI mini port for the HDMI in. The HDMI mini port does have a distinct shape. There's a flat bottom to it, and there's a rounded side, and it's vertical. So unlike the USB charger, when you're going to insert an HDMI in cable into the eSight unit, there is a specific orientation to insert it that can make it a little tricky. Just to give you a little bit of a tip, if you're wearing the eSight or looking at the back of the HDMI port, the flat side of the HDMI port goes towards your head. So the flat side goes towards your head, the curvature, it goes outward when you're sticking in the cable vertically. Once you have that connected, you can then connect the HDMI cable to the video source. So let's say, for example, I'm going to use my laptop computer. I would then take the HDMI cable and I would then connect it from the into the laptop. And as soon as I make that connection and everything is set up properly, the screen will switch from live view and it will say HDMI connected, and it will then have the displaying the HDMI connection. Now, ideally, what you should be seeing, if everything is set up properly, is a replica of what your computer screen is. So whatever you have on your computer screen, say if you have it into a monitor and you want to run into HDMI in, it would be the same thing. So for example, for my laptop, if I'm doing HDMI in, I just disconnect the HDMI port on the screen monitor, I connect it to my eSight, and it switches over. There's a couple of things, though, to keep in mind that may prevent this switchover from being completely smooth. On a Windows computer, if you press the Windows key and the letter P for Paul, it will bring up a screen, and you may be able to see this on my screen. I'm going to try it here, but it's called the project screen. And when you click on the project screen, it brings up a little side panel, and it will give you a number of options for displaying, which is the project screen. So you can get PC screen only, duplicate, extended, or second screen only. So the computer recognizes the eSight as the second monitor. So like imagine having two computer monitors hooked up to one display. So if you go to the project menu on a Windows computer and you choose duplicate, that will then have the screen number 1, which is your laptop screen, be going into your second monitor or your eSight as an exact copy of it. So you can then have your eSight having a copy of your closed laptop screen inside there, and then any mouse movements, anything you open, you'll see directly in here. And then when you're looking into the eSight, you can then use the remote, as I said, to zoom in and zoom out, or use the trackpad on that screen. You can then zoom in onto the screen and then move your head to look around the screen if you would like. With the other issue with the computer, if you do have the project screen set up properly, but then you're not having everything come in, or there might be a frozen image, or you might see green lines across the screen. Normally that indicates it may be a resolution issue on your computer. So on a Windows computer, you would go to the display options and you would lower the resolution. Sometimes with the newer monitors and newer computers, they like to utilize the highest display possible. And so the eSight can handle like a 1080p or around that range. So computers, it's a different screen scale resolution. So sometimes the default is say 1900, and what I'd recommend is going to 1200. So it's normally on my computer I have a 1208 times 720 is the resolution I use to do HDMI into my eSight from a computer screen. You can also use the HDMI in with a laptop, or I shouldn't say laptop, but a tablet. And when you use it with a tablet, say an iPad, there is a special dongle that is needed, and it's called a lightning to digital AV. And so it's a lightning cable that has a small white box that comes out of the side, and then you can connect an HDMI cable to that, and then you can run it into your eSight. So I have used a tablet, and I have used phones, and I have then used that dongle to run it directly into the eyewear. And it's very much if I was just doing a direct connection, and you just connect it up, plug it into the unit, and it will switch over to the HDMI in view. With the HDMI in, like I said, it's very much an experimentation, and you might prefer for some things or others. I've been utilizing the HDMI in recently for some computer games to have a lot of small menus, but then I can use my normal vision to see my screen. So I can then utilize, say, looking at my screen with a bioptic tilt, but then if there's small menus that I can't see, I use the HDMI in functionality to see those menus by zooming in on it. And that's because I have multiple HDMI ports on my computer I use for gaming. So it doesn't matter if I use my monitor for the bigger thing, but the small menus that I'm struggling to see, I'll use the HDMI in that way. There's lots of different ways you can experiment with it. Same kind of idea of looking at spreadsheets and so forth. If you're having trouble with a formula bar, you can then say have the HDMI in and focus on what a formula bar is for the spreadsheet, and you can use your normal vision for everything else. And experimenting that way. And but I just recommend everyone to try the HDMI in, and your coach would definitely be able to chat with you and